All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. So, as you all know, the mission of this podcast is about bringing people on with the knowledge, insights, and experiences that'll help you move that dial towards becoming the best version of yourself, whatever that means to you. So, today we have Amy Hopkins. She is a personal trainer, pre and postnatal group fitness coach, and just badass who inspires moms all over town. So, Amy, how you doing?
Well, that's a nice intro. Thank you. I'm good. Thanks. We're
Awesome.
both hanging out on our couches. I like it.
Like you were saying, you got to keep it casual. We both just worked out, so it makes sense to kick our feet up for a little bit. So
Yeah, for
the
sure.
the first thing I want to ask you about, and we were just talking about it, is how to get like actual noticeable and or meaningful change through health, through fitness. First of all, what do you define as like meaningful change? And then what have you found to be some of the most common ways that people can achieve that?
Yeah. So I mean, the whole world has their things, right? Everybody's got their things they want to work on, whether it be mental fitness, whether it be physical fitness, whether it be food, relationships with their food and things, relationships within their life. So I guess, noticeable changes and meaningful changes for me means you're kind of looking at yourself in the mirror and owning your barriers. I think the biggest thing I talk about with a lot of my clients when they come in is, what are your barriers? And why do you continue to every year let those barriers be the exact same ones? I mean, how often are you like, oh, this year I'm going to do this, or this month I'm going to do this, and I'm going to wake up every day at 6 a.m. and then 6 a.m. comes and we hit snooze. So I think the biggest thing and the biggest steps is sort of writing it out on a piece of paper or typing it up. What are my barriers? What are the things I continually use as an excuse, and being really truthful about them and owning them? If it's time, money, I mean, those are typically the biggest ones, right? Time and money. Push, dedication, motivation, just stuff like that. So, I mean, one of my biggest things that I find most people struggle with is that external motivation. They don't have it internally, they need it externally, and they're striving to find it. Go to a trainer and they think that's going to do it. So they're just always in this rut or this cycle of trying to find that motivation instead of sort of working on how do I build a little bit of that within me. So
No, that's huge. The way that I put that is like people need to know their why. Like what's going to motivate you more
mhm,
intensely than the excuse will push back. So
for sure.
what have you found at least like recently, because I know the pandemic in and of itself created a decent amount of just mental barriers, obviously physical barriers as well, but I think it created a lot of mental barriers for people. So when you're working with a new client and they're coming in with like a fresh barrier load, we'll call it,
Mhm.
what are the more common ones that you see? Like, is it self-doubt? Is it negative self-talk? Is it just the lack of desire in general? What are some things that you've picked up on?
I feel like by the time somebody hits me or a trainer in general, they're pretty much exhausted, right? Like they've tried the boot camps, they've tried the group fitness, they've tried going to the gym and hiding in a corner and doing it on their own. And they've by the time I feel like they've hit me, they're really at a point where they're like, nothing works. I need you. I need accountability. So I feel like the number one thing I hear them say all the time is my biggest barrier is accountability. I need someone that I'm going to pay, that I'm going to show up to, that's going to be like, no, get your ass in here. You're not canceling on me last minute. So I feel like that's it, right? Because if it's a rainy day and it's cloudy and we're like, ooh, coffee and working from my couch sounds really great, or get my butt out of bed and go work out. If it's me going to the gym versus me paying for a trainer, it's just going to be totally different type of accountability. So I feel like accountability is huge. And the second thing I see the most of is people wanting nutritional help. I think that, especially coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people just sort of ate and drank alcohol through the pandemic. There was like kind of a swing, people were going through these mental struggles and these, minor areas to severe areas of depression. And they were like either eating and drinking their way through it, or they were working out. And they were realizing that those, endorphins from taking a walk and moving their body was better than drinking alcohol. But the ones that didn't do that are really struggling with that extra weight. So I'm hearing a lot of that. I don't know if you see that, but I see a ton of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was almost the fight or flight kicked in on like a life scale of people either took it as an opportunity of, okay, like we've got now all of this time available. We can get outside, we can go for runs, we can learn new things. Or it was that like, all right, we need to escape reality for a little bit. One thing that you talked about in our conversations leading up to this was viewing the way that you look at your plate differently. So
Yeah.
how do you think people view their plate, generally speaking, and then what shifts do you think they need to make?
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people have an old school mentality of food and meals, and they think of breakfast as very like close niche breakfast, right? Pancakes, eggs, cereal, oatmeal, you know. Not, I mean, would you ever eat like, I don't know, chicken and green beans for breakfast? Probably not, right? So people's mindset of like looking at your plate as how we used to look at it, like what's my main meal and what are my sides? And I think sometimes like pulling it back and reminding yourself your plate does not have to be a meal. It can be, we can eat like toddlers. I don't know. Do you have kids?
No, no.
Okay. So when you have a kid and they first start eating, you give them little bits of things to try. And everything on their plate is like from a different food group. So you give them chunks of avocado, little pieces of fruit, little bits of hard boiled egg, and you give them little bits of things and they try them all. And you're trying to expose them to things. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, eat like a toddler eats. Like, think about your plate as like, okay, I've got a healthy fat, I've got a grain, I've got a protein, I've got a leafy green. Okay, wow, this plate looks pretty great. Is it a chicken sandwich or a classic lunch where I'm getting a sub and a salad? No, but it doesn't have to be your classic lunch for lunch. So trying to really like think about, do I have food that fuels me? Who like take away that mindset of needing to have like a specific type of dinner, like how you grew up, taco night, spaghetti, chicken on the grill, steak. Like that's how we define our dinners, by like that first source of protein or that large piece. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am as robotic as it gets, especially if I'm in like training camp for a race. I figure out my calories, my macros, and I
Okay.
just have this giant 5-gallon container where I'll make all of the meat for the protein and all the vegetables, and I'll just throw it in this giant container. And then throughout the day, I'll kind of portion it out and put like avocado in with one meal and some nuts and fruit in with one meal. And that way I'm
Awesome.
getting the variety. But it it's what you're saying, where I think people tie too much emotion into it, which
Yeah.
I fully agree with the idea of not most people are going to eat like me, where I have no emotional tie to it really. I just know what needs to go in my system to
Yeah.
operate this machine optimally.
Hmm.
But I think if people can tether the two to each other of, yeah, include some of your favorites, like if you like tacos, make tacos, but can you find a more nutritious shell or casing for it? Can you
Yeah.
get lean meat to put in there, or low sodium seasoning? And just starting to make it sounds like you're not talking about major adjustments. You're talking about these little like micro changes in both what you're physically making, but also the mindset around, oh, it's morning time, we need breakfast food, or oh, it's nighttime, we
Yes.
need a
Nighttime.
dinner meal.
Yeah. Well, one of my clients, for instance, she doesn't eat anything until, late afternoon. So she doesn't really have breakfast. So she sort of starts her day with really nothing. And then sort of the first meal of her day is something with fruit, which is a glucose spike. So now the rest of the afternoon, she's wondering why she's craving carbs and sugars. And so it's also just looking at what you're putting in your body, what time you're putting it in. So I push a lot of people to do 6 mini meals a day. So, and that's also like a toddler eats. So if you ask your doctor, she'll tell you, I want you to feed your kid 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day. You're going to space those out. It's the same kind of concept. So I think the biggest thing I see with people is they're inconsistent eating. So they're overeating one day, under eating the other day because they're punishing themselves. And then one day they're like, I'm going to eat healthy today. And then the next day they don't. So they're just sort of this roller coaster, and their body and system can't really regulate. So I feel like doing 6 mini meals a day where we're looking at our plate and we're saying, like, A, would my trainer be proud? B, am I fueling my body? What are the food groups I'm dealing with on my plates? Did I hit them? Are they going to support my day? And if they aren't for lunch, okay, so what? Now let's make sure we hit it at dinner. So, or let's make sure we hit it at the next meal. So things like that, I talk a lot about trying to incorporate that to get their metabolism and their system sort of running a little bit smoother. And then I also talk to them a ton about, if you like something and it's healthy and it's good, you don't need variety. I could eat the same thing I do actually. I eat the same things constantly. Week after week, I'm stuffing a sweet potato with things, or I'm eating a grain bowl, or I'm eating a plate full of just random little things. So just reminding people that you don't always have to be creative to have things taste good or just feel good, because eventually your body will get used to that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you added that last part. It has to be enjoyable, because I think people who, even if they're at a point where they're making all these shifts, they're getting in the gym, working with a coach, shifting their nutrition, if they're just eating like chicken and broccoli and they don't like that, you're not going to be able to stick with something that you just have no enjoyment towards. And so,
Right.
and there's enough healthy foods where you can find something that's nutritious and enjoyable. So I
Yes.
really like that you added the part of make sure that it's something, if you're working with a coach, your coach would appreciate, or a nutritionist would give you a thumbs up to. Make sure that it hits everything that you need, and then make sure that, at least for the most part, it's enjoyable. Every once in a while, you're gonna have to maybe like eat a vegetable that isn't the best tasting, but at the end of the day, if it's more or
Well,
less
and like
enjoyable.
when
Oh,
yeah,
go
and
for it.
when you're, I mean, when you're a little kid, your taste buds are adjusting. And so most kids don't like things like tomatoes because they taste bad, because their taste buds aren't developed yet. So now as an adult, your taste buds are developed and you still can have your preference towards foods, but also reminding yourself that just because you don't like something one way doesn't mean that if you don't mix it in with a dish that you couldn't get the benefits of zucchini from something baked versus raw. Or you know what I'm saying, or maybe you don't love spinach salad, but maybe if you wilt it and put it into a bowl with grains and rice, maybe you might like that better. So it's just reminding people too to just be really open-minded to different types of vegetables. And I love telling people to research what the benefit is, because a lot of times we're like, oh, carrots are good for our eyes. Or, oh yeah, I think that's good for your gut, right? We just, our IQ of food is so low. So I do it all the time with my 2 kids. I'll pop on my phone real quick and I'll be like, you know why that's good for you that you're eating right now? Let me tell you what it's doing to your body right now. And then all of a sudden my kids are like, this is great. I'm eating spinach and spinach is going to help my bones. Like, this is amazing. I'm going to keep eating spinach. And as soon as they have that why or that reason behind what's going in their body, they can work it better. They can stomach it down. So
Well, and I've also found there's a cycle to it, right? There's a momentum build. When you start moving, your body craves the nutrients. And once you get the nutrients, you have way more energy to move your body. And so it really creates this positive momentum.
yeah,
But
it's a
everything
big
you just
domino
laid down
effect.
is exactly it. Make sure that, and that's with fitness too, like make sure, at least for the most part, you're doing some type of physical activity that is enjoyable to you. Now, I'm a rare breed. I love burpees. I love conditioning. I love that stuff. I
Yeah,
understand not everyone is a burpee fanatic,
you
but
are a rare breed.
exactly, yeah. But like, there are people who like to dance. There are people who like to play sports. There are people who like to pick up heavy things and slam them on the ground.
Yep.
Whatever it is to you, with your food, with your exercise, with all of it, just find something that lights you up, makes it playful, makes it fun and enjoyable. So
Yeah.
that way you can stick with it.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that our common friend Weekday Warrior posted the other day. I don't know if you saw that, but he posted the other day this little quote that was basically like, if your diet worked so well for you, why did you quit it? And, if you quit it, why are you going back to it? If you couldn't sustain it, why are you going back to it? And it was just like such a common sense phrase. And it's literally stuck with me since I read it. But it's true. I have so many people that are like, oh, well, I did this really great diet a year ago and I lost all this weight and it was awesome. And they're here to see me and they've gained all this weight back and they're looking for nutrition guidance and they're like, I think I'm going to start that up again. And I say to them, what? And it's true.
Yep.
It's like, well, why would you go back to what didn't really actually work for you? It worked for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable. So I think sustainability is what we all struggle with because there's a lot of quick fixes out there and everybody wants that easy button, whether it be in food or fitness. Or mental health, I want to take a pill versus working on what my real inner demons are. I want to take a pill to lose weight instead of hit the cardio. I want to, eat the cheeseburger because the vegetables don't look good. So it's just, I think our society is growing more and more towards that easy button, unfortunately. And I think the more we can be advocates and help people, I think, hopefully we can motivate more people.
Oh man, you
Right?
just laid it down. I think that that is like one of the things I'm the most passionate about, which is why would you opt for this easy quick fix thing that there's a reason quick fix has such a negative stigma around it. It's because it
Right.
very rarely works. When all you have to do is just be consistent for a little while and you'll reap the benefits of that consistency with anything you do. It's that like law of 10,000 hours. Even if
Yeah.
you put in 10 hours and you start to get that momentum and build the track record with yourself. Yeah, I could spend a very long time talking about the differences between those two things. But one thing I do want to talk about, just because I'm really curious about it, is you were talking about you originally started down this path just more or less to get you time after you had kids.
hmm
What then created the transition into like, okay, this is a thing for me, to then wanting to coach? And then what is it that makes the pre and postnatal fitness a specialty?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I was a hygienist for 12 years. And after I had my second child, I couldn't really keep up with it anymore. I had a husband who traveled a lot and being alone a lot with two little kids and trying to work a full-time job, it just in Milwaukee, living out just wasn't an option for me. So I had quit my job and became a stay-at-home mom for about 2 months and I hated it. I love my children, but I hated being a stay-at-home mom. So I quit that job very quickly and got asked by an old dental hygiene patient, actually, if I wanted to come work out in her group. And it was called Fit for Mom. And the whole concept was moms and kids. Kids came along in strollers or sat down nearby you. And I loved it. I went every day and I worked out and I used to only be a runner. So it was sort of why I was transitioning to figure out if I wanted to go back into dental hygiene or what I wanted to do with my second half of my life. I worked out with my kids by my side and they got to see me be active. They got to be active with me. And before I knew it, I was teaching for her, filling in for classes. So I had to go through a certification in order to teach within this group because a lot of the women there, well, everybody there was moms. So they either were pregnant or postnatal. So they had already had their babies, and whether they were weeks out from having a baby or years, we had some moms that had babies that were 16. Um, I had to know how to care for that body type, essentially. So I went through my training there and got group fitness certified and just kind of kept on going. I wanted to learn more about the anatomy of the female body and what happens to it. And so I decided to basically get personal training certified with no intention of ever doing personal training. just basically just learn the knowledge and have that certification in my background. And so I did that, and I had a couple people that were like, please train me, please. So I did it, and then fell in love with it and decided to keep taking clients on. So I mean, it all kind of started with me not wanting to be a stay-at-home mom and sort of feeling lost, which is really common for women after they've had babies. If they decide to stay home or take some time off, I think for them to go back into their career, it's really hard to find that balance of self-time, mom time, and then being an employer or employee. So for me, I just needed more in my life. And I realized as just being a runner, my body had became just sort of like this frail, skinny, sort of strong ass runner, but no strength. And I was mentally very strong, and I was just not very physically strong. So I decided to add weightlifting into my life, and I was like, what? I've been missing out on this, and
Mhm.
fell in love with it. So
And now, so your gym, Anchor Fitness, it's for women only,
yes.
and correct?
Yep.
And I'm sure there are a lot of benefits to that. What are some of the main benefits you see to kind of giving your women their own kind of like private oasis for fitness?
Yeah. So when I opened Anchor Fitness, I had not intended to only be women only, and I really didn't intend to do um, women who are pregnant or pre and postnatal. I wasn't opposed to it because I had trained them for 5 years in group fitness. I knew what I was doing, but I still was sort of like, I didn't really care. Wasn't definitely like my push or marketing. So I was open to training men. And then I had a few men I trained, and I didn't love it. I felt like their bodies were big and I'm petite. I struggled to spot them. I struggled to connect with them. I struggled with them taking my personality as me flirting. So there was a little bit of like their assumption of me being somebody different than a trainer, authority. And I just kind of was like, no, I can't do this. So I basically just decided, like, no, men are not for me. I'm going to train women. And then I had my first client got pregnant. And then within 2 months, I had 3 other clients get pregnant. So I was like, stop drinking the water at Anchor Fitness because
You're like
something's
the good
happening.
luck charm over there.
Right. Yeah. I'm making them all so sexy. Their husbands can't keep them their hands off. That's what I said. So yeah, so I just started basically becoming like this trainer that everybody's like, holy cow, you train pregnant women. And then all of a sudden pregnant women were knocking on my door. So I became sort of this women only based on my comfortability, and then pre and postnatal because it's my background and because it's my comfortable zone. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
As I was saying before we hopped on, that to me is the coolest thing you can do with your life is find something you are super passionate about, get really freaking good at it, and then help other people through that avenue, because you're doing something that not only is fun, but it's very purposeful. And if you get really good at something, people will reward you, whether it's with money or with, trade of some sort or with something. But so I find
I
that
love it.
phenomenal. One thing I'm very curious about, because I've actually had that experience as well, where I think if you're in the service industry in general and you're working closely with someone and you're just a nice, charismatic, personable human being, it
Yeah.
does get misconstrued.
Yes.
Um, yeah, that so I just am.
It's pretty common, and I think it's a little bit more common. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to men, but it's definitely I have several female trainers or instructors that I know that also deal with this, and it's just when I'm in my studio at 6, 7, 8 p.m., I want to be with the person I want to be with, right? Like I want to feel vulnerable just the way they feel vulnerable. My goal is for those women to walk through that door, or any client, to feel like if they want to cry for 5 minutes and tell me about what's going on in their world, like let's do that. And then if we need to take it to a really aggressive workout because they just need to release some stuff, let's do it. So it's more about what they're getting out of that hour than it is like, how hard did we work out? Don't get me wrong, they leave there sore, they leave there tired, but it's also an hour for them. And as moms, we don't really get to do that a lot. And unless you're really conscious of it, and a lot of women lose themselves and sort of forget to give themselves that time. So I love giving that hour to them, and I think I connect better with them. So for me, I just, there's just so many men out there that have different intentions, and it just wasn't for me. It's just, it put me in an awkward position, and wasn't a fan of it. So
It's unfortunate,
yeah,
but yeah, I can definitely see that happening at multiple places I've trained at where
yeah,
guys pick up on the wrong message. But
yeah. So it's good. There's lots of trainers out there, and so and whenever a guy like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a women only gym. Like, I appreciate that, but lots of great people out there. That's the good thing about this is there's a trainer for anybody. Um, so, and I think as trainers, we definitely like find our sort of niche in who we enjoy training and the type of body we work best with. And I have learned sort of as a business owner that I don't have to say yes to somebody that really doesn't fit my style of training. And that's okay because they'll find somebody or I can help guide them there. And that's why I continue to network with people so that I have a place to send some people. And I used to feel bad. I used to be like, oh, shoot, I should just take them and help them. And now it's like, nope, like I don't think we'd be a good fit. And I think, what you really need is X, Y, and Z. So I've become more confident in just owning what I know works best for me.
yeah, there's two things you said that I really appreciate. One is it's not like you're wasting the person's time if you take them on, but you just know that there's someone out there who's a better equipped match to help them.
Yes.
And that is what I absolutely love about the fitness industry. When you have healthy relationships with other coaches, trainers, specialists, is if you're not bringing ego into it, where you're like, oh no, I want that client for me, you really do have an amazing network of people who you can let your client then go and, like at the place that I take my in-person clients at, we have certified nutritionists who I'll tell my client, hey, take one of your sessions with me and go sit down with them. They'll be able to go more in depth in this area. Or, hey, take a session with me and go, see the massage therapist or energy coach or what
Yeah.
have you. And it really, first of all, it shows that person that you're not trying to hold on to them,
Yeah.
but also it proves, it's bigger than one person. And it really is about making sure that they get what they need to have the success that they want. So I think
Well,
that's
and let's
amazing.
be real, there's a million people out there and a million trainers out there. And my competition is as long as I'm doing me and I'm doing it right, I shouldn't really be competing with anybody. And I'm not. My goal of 2021 was to visit 50 new gyms, which was super aggressive. So I scaled that back to 2 years because that was silly. So I'm still going to finish my 50 new gyms, but my goal is to visit 50 new gyms in the Milwaukee area and surrounding. And just like shout out other gyms to support them through tough times, especially during the pandemic. See what's going on, see what people are doing, have a place to refer people to, connect and network with other people. And it has been like the coolest marketing idea. And also I've just loved it. Like every minute of it, I've gained a new follower that I can connect with, that I can reach out with. I have somebody that moved down to Milwaukee and they're not going to stay with me in Pewaukee. And so I've connected them with a couple cool like boot camp places down there. And the more I do those kind of things, the more I realize like I'm not losing a client. Like I'm just helping graduate them to maybe an area that's more fun or more fulfilling. And I was a stepping stone within their journey of fitness and health. And um, so I'm more confident in those things. And I think seeing all these other gyms is been great. So I love it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. We might have more to discuss after we wrap up here, but um, so one thing I want just for you to do is you were talking about the importance of like just giving people that hour, right? Like letting them do what they need to do, give them that time, give them that space, that vulnerability. Obviously, for you, that is kind of narrowed in most specifically to pregnant or postnatal women, but women. But I think just people in general need to hear that message about why that's so important. So, like, in your words, talking to whoever's listening to this that struggles to find that me time or at least consistently, why to you is it so important for them to take that step and make the time for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, because we don't do it, right? We are just a society that is glued to our phones. We can get emails, text messages, anything at all hours of the day and night. And I think slowing down and just having that hour to, I mean, most of my clients never even have their phone near them. Their phone is away. I don't have a clock in my gym for that reason. And it's just all about them. I mean, how often do you get to spend an hour just talking about yourself? Okay, well, right now I feel like I am. But I mean, how often do you go somewhere and someone, unless you're going to therapy, and someone's just listening and they're just absorbing and help guiding you and reassuring you or being an ear. And I think that it's very rare we get that. And then you tag that along with the fitness piece of it, and you truly have mental fitness, which I think is such a cool term because I feel like it really collaborates the two of, um, the mental health aspect of it, and then obviously the body and the physical aspect of it. So, giving women that hour back is just, I don't know, it just does, it fills my bucket up just as much as I fill theirs up. It's just so important. I love it. I mean, I think if people can allocate their money and find a way to have a trainer as the beginning part of their journey, or maybe it's a lifetime with a trainer, but just even starting there to get them to a really confident, comfortable space within a gym, within their body, within movement, within their mental thoughts, health. I think that they're setting themselves up for such a better success than going to the gym by themselves and not really feeling confident or knowing what to do.
Yes, to everything you just said. But there's one thing I really want to point out too, and it's mental fitness. So mental health, fortunately, is getting the spotlight. It is long overdue in society. But
Yeah.
I think mental fitness is something that actually doesn't get talked about much. And
Right.
it's just like physical fitness. There's a certain stress load that your mind and your emotional capacity can handle. And I almost picture it like a backpack. People walk around with a backpack and you're able to get yourself used to carrying a certain amount of weight in that backpack before the backpack breaks and you implode. Now, the problem with it is I think nowadays people don't always have consistent practices to remove the weight from the backpack. And so they allow it to just keep stacking because it's in such small increments for the most part that they just feel that it's like equilibrium when really it's
Yes.
stacking on itself. And so having, first of all, the practices that do push your mental fitness capacity in a controlled setting, like an endurance workout or doing something really tough or getting really vulnerable and having a conversation that maybe pushes you towards the edge of your comfort zone. Doing things like that to expand the capacity is one thing, but at the same time, finding ways like meditation, breath work,
Yeah.
any type of mind body like yoga. Even I've found like rock climbing, dancing, things like that, where
Yes.
you're very present and mindful, is a really fantastic way to alleviate some of that mental weight.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too, is that whenever I meet somebody, not just like client, but just somebody on the street that, is just like, oh, I don't know. I just don't like running, or I just don't like weightlifting. And I'm like, maybe you just haven't found your thing. Finding that thing that helps you feel like you can be vulnerable in that situation and relaxed and put your energy into it and you feel good when you leave. And it doesn't mean it has to be easy or easy to walk through that door, but once you leave that door, you feel better than when you came in. And I think that's such a huge piece. Like, I never want my clients ever, ever, ever to leave my studio feeling worse than when they walked in. Their muscles might feel worse, but I want them to feel clear, like they've released something that day. I don't know, they have some time just to themselves. I see a trainer myself a few times a week, and it is some of the best hours I have in my week. And just because I get to show up, I don't have to plan my own workout. I don't have to think. My phone is not on me. And I literally it's an hour about me. And I don't get that very often. So it's my why as well. So that's
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
know people are always like, why do you see a trainer? You're a trainer. I'm like, well, dentist has to see a dentist, right? Like we all need the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean that to me is one of the funniest questions. Like I had a run coach helping me out with my running form, even though I compete at a high level in these like obstacle course races or endurance races or things like that. And I'm a trainer. So I've gotten
Right.
that same question of like, well, if you're so good at it and you teach other people about it, why do you need help? And first of all, you can always get better, no matter how good you are or knowledgeable you are. Working with someone else could teach you something that you could then funnel to the people you work with. But
Yep.
also what you're saying, I don't always want to program my own stuff. It's kind of like the
Yes.
trainer equivalent of like going out to dinner. You didn't want to cook, so you just go out to dinner.
Yes. Well, and putting your body through what somebody else is telling you to do, finding your own ceiling again and working past that ceiling and pushing yourself beyond those boundaries. I think, like, yes, I can do it on my own, but it's so fun to try what somebody else wants me to do because we all are human and we all go back to what's comfortable, right? So I go to the gym and I do my pretty comfortable workouts and I might push myself with weight or tempo or adjust things, but I'm not trying, you know, frog jumps. Like I'm not doing plyo stuff. I'm not doing things that maybe my trainer's pushing me through because that's his comfortable zone of training. So it's also just good to put your body through what somebody else is trying to force you to do, which is why I love touring these gyms because I get to feel, I get to see, and I'm looking at their business in a totally different perspective than when I was prior to being a business owner. Walking in somebody else's gym, seeing how they treat me, putting my body through that workout, seeing how they cue, seeing how they treat other people within the room, how they motivate, how other people like being there. Do they high five each other? Are they happy to be there? Are they happier when they walk out? So it's fun for me to see all that, and I like to put my body through that, whether it be with a trainer or just coming. I got to come to your boot camp, actually.
I was just about to say you should come check out one of my classes or come in sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna add that to my list.
All right. Now, the last topic I want to go through before we start to wrap up is you started this up as an official, brick and mortar business during a pandemic.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned from like the business startup side about like the importance of going all in on passion, chasing your dream, making sure that you pursue it through adversity? What are some of the biggest life lessons you've taken away from sticking through the business side of things?
Yeah. Well, felt like I was a little crazy for opening up a business during a pandemic, but I also unfortunately and fortunately took advantage of a lakefront property that was empty because of the pandemic. So um that's the way society works and how our world works, right? Like things fail and somebody's got to bring it back up. So I was scared and nervous, but at the same point, I was like, this is how it works. People fail, and somebody else comes in and takes advantage of the low prices and the right rates, and then we go after it. Although I will say, trying to buy fitness equipment was not fun. So
Uh-huh.
that piece of it was a little bit more expensive. Um, I ended up like taking all of my equipment from my personal home gym into my gym and started off with very little. So I had to get pretty creative because I couldn't purchase a lot of stuff. But I mean, opening a business during a pandemic, opening a business in general is hard, but I think a lot of it is just I had a business plan put together. I had an idea of what I needed to make to meet all the red line basically, to stay above it. And then what did it mean to grind? What did it mean to gain a bunch ahead of it? I'm in a unique situation because I have a second source of income. So it wasn't like I was putting my house on the line and the ability to feed my children. Um, but I still feel like it's your baby when it's your baby and it's your passion, I'm not gonna let it fail. If it's gonna fail, it's because I'm done and I want to be done. And so I really put a lot of heart into it and a lot of hours and a lot of creativity, to make it mine, and just to honestly just keep being authentic so that I didn't have to work hard to get clients because I just was who I was and people wanted to train with me. Um, and that was kind of my big piece of how I was planning on going about being successful was I'm going to, you know, work hard at it, put a lot of time in, and then I'm just going to be Amy. And there's enough people and humans in the world that if they don't want me, that's okay. There'll be more. And it's worked. I haven't really had to work hard to find clients, which has been pretty lucky. So, but yeah, pandemic opening a business was tough, but not not unsustainable. It's definitely anybody could do it.
The key thing I think you said was something that I learned very quickly when I first got into like having to accumulate my own clients, which was the harder I tried to be who I thought they wanted me to be, the less people would stick around. And then the more I just bought into being my most authentic self, the
Yep.
more people resonated with me and wanted to be around me and work with me. And so I think exactly what you said, there's around 8 billion people on the planet. If X% don't like you, I think they'll be okay. And I think you'll be okay. Because as long
Right.
as you're authentic, you'll find an abundance of people who you'll end up calling your tribe, your people, your community. And so, I mean, especially
And
with
just
this
being
podcast,
silly.
what's that?
Just being silly, I try to just really show my character through Instagram and through my training style. Like I throw a lot of swear words down in a day. I have a pretty bad mouth. I'm pretty real with people. If you're needing to get your ass kicked, and you're gonna hear it from me. I'm not gonna be soft on you, but then the next day I'm gonna text you and be like, I love you, I care about you, I hope that you're feeling better. I just want your best interest in hand. So I think that, the people want that. They want, like, training with somebody is really vulnerable. You are sweating, you're making noises that sound like you're having sex, let's be real, or taking a shit. I mean, you're literally the noises, the sweat, the exhaustion, the feeling of wanting to give up, the words that come out of your mouth when you're working out, like you have to be with someone that isn't going to judge you and that's going to make you feel like it's okay to grunt the way you're grunting, or to swear if you want to swear. And so I think the more authentic you can be as a trainer or an instructor, I think the people just see that and they want to be with that, because it's hard to find authenticity.
For sure. Yeah, especially in like you're talking about with social media, you do find people who tend to put on a front. And I
Yeah.
think it is really important to find people who when you're with them, you're actually with them and not a representative version of them that's trying to
Yeah.
be who they think they need to.
Right.
One thing that my clients actually pointed out, you talked about like wanting people to work hard and kick their ass a little bit. My clients pointed out to me that when I'm making them do something that's like really difficult and I see they're struggling, I have a grin on my face. And they thought that was me like being mean. But I was like, no, once I see that you're hitting that point where you're
Yeah.
actually growing and not just going through the motions, that's me. That's what like lights me up. That's what makes me excited to coach and to guide and to help people. But it was
Yeah.
funny because I had no idea that I did that. And then one of my clients is like, you just like watching us suffer, don't you? I was like,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, but not for the reason you think.
Right, right. I know I always tease my trainer because he doesn't really say a lot, but he definitely does a lot of this. And I tease him and I call him the disappointed dad.
I like it.
Single word. I'm like, how did you do that? I'm like, how did you just look at me? And I'm like, fine, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's go. How do you do that? Like, I have to use so many words for my clients. I'm like, but he just doesn't say anything. He just looks at me and I'm like instantly like, oh, all right.
Eyes of conviction, I guess.
Right, right. So, I mean, we all have our little ways and stuff, but I feel like whatever way you can make somebody feel comfortable and confident. And I think as a female, and maybe you find this as men, with men, but as a female, I can be intimidating. I'm loud. I understand that my body is very lean. I'm very fit. I work really hard at it. I eat clean, and I can be viewed very perfectionist in a lot of people's eyes. And so I recognize that that can be intimidating for some people that maybe have other insecurities or different body types. And so I think once I get to know them, I think they lose that sort of judgment, just the way that I might have that judgment barrier as well. So it's breaking down those like judgmental barriers that, hey, I'm a human and I know you're looking at me this way, but there's somebody else inside that body that worked really hard to get to that body. And um, so I think that's a huge piece of it too, is just really being authentic so that you're not being viewed and judged as a little fit, perfect trainer. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually, it's interesting you say that. I think I have the opposite effect on people where I'm a very like silly, happy-go-lucky, light-hearted person to be around. And I mean, I have no problem saying I work really freaking hard on,
yeah.
I have two businesses, plus the people I train at the gym, plus the races I do, plus other things going on. But that's not really like the personality that I portray, because I love just being in the moment, being playful, being silly. And
Yeah.
then, once I get that time to myself, that's when I really, full steam ahead, just work on the growth aspects of things. But it is fascinating once you just prove yourself to people.
Hmm.
There really is no question, right? I think that goes along with the authenticity part, where if you prove that not only are you authentic, but you're authentically a positive influence, I think that's just an undeniable presence that people want in their life.
Yeah. They just, they shed their initial judgment of you. And that's in anything, not just in personal training, but I definitely feel like personal training is a huge judgmental zone because most trainers are in good shape because that's their passion. That's why they're there. Um, and a lot of people don't want to train with somebody who's not in good shape, but they're definitely going to judge the shit out of you as to why you're in good shape. So it's like it's kind of this weird thing, but I think the more, yeah, like you said, the more you're yourself, the more people take that barrier down of judging you and really just starting to trust in you. So yeah.
Agreed. All right. So we will start to wrap it up. I always have one last question that I ask just because I'm curious and always want to know people's answer to this. So for
Okay.
you right now in your life, what's the next step in you becoming your best self?
Oh, I like it. Oh, wow. Um, the next step for me is to continue growing. So I'm continue growing from a body composition standpoint. I am going to be doing a high rocks competition in November, and I'm stoked because being a runner my whole life, I've always competed, and this will be sort of that blend of running and strength training that I get to do. So I'm excited to do that. So that's my big thing I'm doing that I'm really excited about, and I hope it sort of just starts this trend of me doing Spartan races, or I don't even know, all the crazy things out there. So that's kind of my personal growth pattern that I'm headed towards. And then from my business perspective, I'm trying to decide if I want to continue staying true to my boutique and just me and my gym, or if I want to take on employees, if I want to expand, where I see myself in 5 years. So I'm really trying to find the answers to those questions. And then I'm also getting more certification within the pre and postnatal. So hoping to just further my knowledge because I love learning. So those are sort of my growth areas that I see happening.
All right. Well, my life athletically has been basically obstacle course racing the last few years. So
Yeah,
I
I gotta talk
will I
to
will
you.
gladly have a conversation with you about that if you decide that's what you want to get into. But no, I think what's really cool about your answer is there's clarity. So you have with the business, it's figuring out what are the questions I need to ask, what are the answers to those questions. And it, although it's like an ever evolving thing, as you continue and learn new things and grow, it's really interesting to me when I ask that question. You can tell who has not at all thought about it and who
Sure.
thinks about it regularly. And so I think
Yeah.
it's really cool that you just have that, like, okay, for me and my life, and then for the business side of things, you have a pretty good idea of what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I had a business coach once say to me, "What's your exit plan?" And I was like, "I just opened. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, what's your exit plan? How are you planning on getting out of your business?" And I was like, "Well, that's such a depressing thought. Like, I don't know. I'm so excited about it." And it like lingers in my head constantly because I do think of that. Like, do I see myself opening up a second location? Do I see myself hiring trainers on? And it's part of me touring a lot of these gyms. It's helping me realize what I don't want, what I do want, what the benefits or disadvantages are of having employees. Um, so it's just, I think it's as much as I want all the answers of where I see myself in a year or in the next 2 years, I also am just really content with just sort of coasting and just keeping a really open mind as to where it could go. So,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
good stuff. I love it too.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down, talk about nutrition, fitness, your life leading up to the business, and including what you've learned with it. For people who are just interested in following you, connecting with you, any social media platforms that you want to throw down for people who are
Yeah.
interested?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to gain my followers, so who isn't, right? So I'm on Instagram mainly, and my Instagram handle is Anchor Fitness PKE for Pewaukee. So
All right. I will
yeah,
make
so people
sure.
can find me on there.
Yeah, I'll make sure that's in the comments. So people who are on YouTube, it'll be in the comments,
Awesome.
or in the description. But so for everybody listening, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. If you're a first time viewer, check out other videos. There's plenty more on health, fitness, people who have started up their own entrepreneurial ventures, anything and everything you can think of involving similar aspects of what we talked about. There's a deep rabbit hole. If you've been here before and you have questions about Amy, anything that we talked about, if you have agreements, disagreements, all of that can go in the comments section. If you found this useful, the whole YouTube spiel, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that other fun stuff. But Amy, thank you for doing everything you're doing. I can't wait to kick your butt in a boot camp at some
Yes.
point and talk
Thank
some
you.
obstacle course racing, but thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
You bet. And to everybody else, we will catch you next time.